Hey all, just wanted to get down and give you some examples of some smoothing groups so you understand them a little bit better and something you can refer to. So this is the blade we've made, and if we look at the unwrap or the mesh, you'll see that it looks like this. So if I come in here and I say I want smoothing groups to change the way this is visualized. Right now it looks like it's all one smooth object. Even if I turn it to the side, I can't really see the edge, and that's definitely not the way that blades look. So what I have to do is either put some high-end subdivisions in here, which is costly, or I have a trick that the game engines since the dawn of time have used, and it's called smoothing groups. So to get to smoothing groups, you just have to turn on your polygon mode, which is 5 on your shortcuts, and then make sure you open up polygon smoothing groups. Okay, once you're in there, if I click on anything, you'll see it says 1, that's highlighted. If I select them all, you'll see they're all using the same smoothing group, okay? Some of you may have several smoothing groups, that's totally fine. But what we want is we want this blade edge to feel different than the other. And what smoothing groups do, and let me turn these back on real quick, is they say anything that's touching this side or this side or that side or this side or this side or that side, are using the same smoothing group. If I don't want them to smooth across that surface or try to visually smooth, it's not really smoothing it, it's just making it feel like it's smooth, making it feel like it's got a rounded edge. I need to change it so they all share the same thing. If I don't want them to look like they are sharing the same softness, let me turn this to 2. I need to tell it that it's on a different smoothing group. It's just telling the computer to render this edge, this polygon, next to things that are not the same differently. So all I have to do is turn off the number 1 and go to number 32 in my case. And really you should do it in the order, but right now I'm just doing it for fast and making it easy. So I'm going to turn off the edges, and then you can take a look. And now all of a sudden that edge is showing up as one sharp sword. Now if I look at it from the side, I even get a little bit of it there, but it still feels wrong. So let's do it again. We'll hold that and we'll click on this, or click on this one, and then shift to grab that one. I'll turn that one off. I don't want this one to share 32, because when I do, yes, it's now different from here and here, but if I turn it off here, but now the edge is still not really working. So what I want to do is change that not to 32 but to 31, so the one it's touching over here and the one it's touching over here are different. Okay, so this one and this one are not the same. Okay, so it makes it feel like let me go back to 4. There we go. We got a nice sharp edge as compared to the other side, which feels like a rounded thing. Okay, and this is without adding geometry. That's the key point. All right, so we'll go back to 4, and I'm going to do this one, and this one, and that one. And I'm going to say I want this one to have a different smoothing group too. I don't want it to be 31 because it touches 30, or 32 because it touches 32 up here. I might be okay with it being 31, but I don't like doing that because this point up here, let's see what happens. This point up here, yeah, see, all of a sudden it gets weird because it's sharing this edge. So I don't say 32 either. In this case, I'll just say 30, and you'll see it works perfectly over there now and there. So that leaves us one more, this really non-defined edge. Now it really disappears because we don't see it anywhere. Okay, so I have that, and then I'll turn off 1 and go to 29. All right, so now my sword has edges. All of them are cutting and sharp and stuff. But what I may want to do, in this case, I'm going to change it even more. I'm going to do this one, this side right down here, this have to be sharper because I think that point would give us a little edge. You could have smoothed it out, and there's definitely ways to make it not be that way. But for our case, we're just going to say we did want it that way. And again, I don't want it to be 31 or 32 or any of those other ones it could possibly touch. I want it to be something different. And I'm just going to say 25. I do random numbers at first just to get things set up and get them separate. But I'm going to say 25. Now, if I look at it, it's got an edge between there and there. The cool thing is this one can share the same number I just used because I know it's not touching this edge ever anywhere. So if I say 25 on that one, now it's fine too, and there's no weirdness. So I just have to do the other sides, and I can grab them both the same time if I want, like that. And turn off what they're using. Remember, I have to turn them on until they show the number and then turn them back off. I'm going to say 26. And now I've got the blade showing an edge between the edges. All right. And it's all about smoothing groups. If I grab them all, one of the things I do want to say is that I select all. What you see if you select something with multiple smoothing groups, select everything on a mesh with multiple smoothing groups, you're going to see them grayed out. What grayed out means is that some of the polygons you've selected are using different smoothing groups. Okay, so like if I grab these two, let me turn off ignore backfacing. If I grab these three, you'll see it's using this smoothing group, this smoothing group, and this smoothing group. If I turn off this one, you'll see, hold on, I must have grabbed it on the other side too. Let me grab it that way. If I just select those two polygons, it's just showing me these two are being selected, but neither of them have both on it. You can use multiple smoothing groups on multiple objects, and we'll get into that and how you can use that at another time. I may just add the video I did last semester on here because it shows a fridge that I did it with, and it made a lot of sense. Anyway, so that's what smoothing groups do. That's how they're used. And then when you export it out, they'll be defined in it. So when I come over to, let's say, Unreal Engine, and I look in it, I have them all set up in the way that they should be here. I was back here, I changed it. Okay. So here's the non-smooth one, here's the smooth one, here's the smooth without the edge, and then here's the smooth with the edge. And again, it's just a cheap way to make it feel right. It doesn't give you that secondary highlight that we'll be talking about when we get to higher res or higher resolution stuff, but it does do a lot of good stuff. I mean, it's really a cheap way to do it. And that's why we in the game industry always use it for something. And then this right here, for example, is another object because of its smoothing groups. If I come back to Max, hello. I come back to Max and then hide all and just hide that one. There we go. If I look at this one, I'll see that it's nothing. If I do, let's try this. Not that. This is kind of what normals do. They take your smoothing groups and they define them in a way that Max, or that the way the engine sees it different, and that's what normals do. Basically, they're kind of like normals. We're telling what normals to blend together. And in this case, I have a texture on it. Even though it's the same thing, it has an object texture. It has a normal on it. If I turn that off, I can turn all these off. All of a sudden, it's the same object. I put it back on, and all of a sudden it feels like a really high-res thing. And that's a handle of a sword. You don't need to have the detail that I put into the original handle, okay? But I just want to tell you that you can still use smoothing groups on high-res stuff and low-res stuff. It's just obviously more work. If you do it beforehand, you're usually better off. Okay, that's smoothing groups, and I'll see you in a bit.